Hello, good morning, and welcome in on this beautiful Friday, the 8th day of December 2023. We welcome you into Good Morning NASDAQ, our morning pre-market show where we talk about the gappers. We talk about the recent runners. We take a temperature of the market, all the while trying to show you how we analyze daily charts, fundamentals, filings, dilution, all the good, amazing stuff that makes small caps so tricky. We hope in the next 20 to 25 minutes you can take away something from that and hopefully improve upon your trading. If for some reason you're not part of the Clover rocket ship, you can link in the description, clovertrading.io. You can get in for $7 for 7 days, less than a cup of coffee from Starbucks. And you can get in there, watch the webinars, watch the video lessons, and make your decision if you want to stay. We have a great community growing, and we'd love to have you a part of it. Right now is a great time to check that you are subscribed right here to the Clover Trading YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I prefer not to have to ask later in the show, but as long as we are over 50% ratio of likes to viewers, we're happy. We're really happy. We post videos every single week. We also have Wine Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. And we're live every morning, 8:45 a.m. So as we wrap up this Friday and this first full week in December, how we feeling, Huddy?
We're feeling good. Happy it's Friday. Kind of a crazy past couple of weeks, and feels like work again, which is good.
Feels like work.
Feels like work.
Alrighty. Well, as we let some people filter in, make sure you're over in the chat on YouTube. Let us know if you have any questions, if you have any tickers you want us to go over, if you want to just tell us you love us, if you want to tell us where you're tuning in from, how's your trading going this week, anything you want, that is your safe space to go and write it.
Is it all that safe though?
Yes. Yes. Got my Clover hat on.
Oh, what about mine?
Do we know who sent us these ones?
I think it was Eduardo.
No, that was the first one.
What are you wearing?
We were on a trip where I was gone, and then I came home, and Jenny was like, "There's another Clover hat," and I don't know where this one came from. Maybe it was from
Going on the
Kellogg.
screen.
All right, let's take a look at the scanner this morning. Looks like we got a couple jappers. We'll start here with INTS up 163% on the morning. Let's take a look at the dilution. How do you, if it'd be great if you follow along so you don't have to ask what ticker I'm on.
Why don't I see these on my scanner? It's so annoying.
It's over $10 now.
Might be a good reason.
Biotechnology company, 10.13 million float. They're a clinical stage biotech company engaging in the discovery, development, and commercialization of cancer drugs to treat solid tumors. What do we got for news today? 21 minutes ago, they present positive INT 236 data in patients with early stage breast cancer in a podium poster spotlight discussion at the 2023 SABCS. 7 days ago, we talked about them presenting at this. And then 25 days ago, looked like they had earnings. They had similar news a month ago in a different type of patient, refractory soft tissue sarcoma. Let's see if that's just something they do a lot of. Okay, so just a little bit of that news. 20 months of cash to burn. Recent IPO, it looks like, because not a lot of dilution history. Let's take a look at the chat. Let's go back. So recent IPO from 6/29. What is month 6? June? Little breakout over the 460s area. Topped out this morning at 15. Goodness gracious. People like that news at 8:30 a.m. Now sort of mid-range here around $10. 1 million shares already. Through the all the highs. This is kind of interesting. Generally, we're talking about stocks top left to bottom right, completely beaten down, stuff we've traded in the past over the last decade. This one's a little different for a gapper. It's through all the highs. Blue skies going to do the most volume it's ever done on the daily chart.
My chart only goes back to June 30th. Is that for you as well?
Yes, I believe they IPO that, and the dilution. I mean, on the dilution tracker, I see they IPO'd at $5 on 6/30/2023.
I don't believe you.
What do you mean?
Okay, fine.
What? Like I just read you the news. First thoughts, quite interesting.
Yeah, my first thoughts right off the bat is it's phase two news. Breast cancer, obviously a hot word, but just from my general observation the past month, phase two news has not performed well for the gappers. That's honestly with just without reading anything about the phase two news, just a headline of seeing phase two multiple times on Good Morning NASDAQ. Those tickers haven't done well throughout the day. That's my first thought, but I'm still looking through everything else.
Talk to me about the daily chart.
The daily chart, there's not much to talk about. You said it, there's not a lot of information. It's only been trading for 4 or 5 months, no big volume days, just pre-market right now, the volume's already at all-time highs. So, whatever levels are kind of created today is what I would consider to be most significant in terms of, levels created on big volume. And that's how I would play the chart. I really wouldn't be looking at anything but today, just because there's nothing to look at, right? If there's something to look at, I'd look at it.
Where would you put this on the spikeability chart? What's a word we can use there to kind of rate how likely we are to think that this could run?
Yeah, I think
The
that all
spikeability index, 1 through 10.
that all has to do with share count. To me, it's all data driven. So the float being 7.99 mil, I do expect volatility. That's kind of one of those floats that can definitely move up or down. It just decent percent returns can be expected. Held by insiders 15%, held by institutions 0%. So not a huge reason to manipulate it. Not many shares short, so not a whole lot of gasolina to squeeze. I think it can move. I just don't know if it's up or down. That's the issue. And my gut says down.
So what's the number on the spikeability index?
What? No,
I'm starting a new thing.
Okay. Probably like a. Can a spikeability index also like be considered a dropability index?
That means you'd go below 5.
What? Below 5?
Yeah, like 1 through 5 would be you think it's going to open lower. 5 through 10 means you think it can go higher.
Oh, I think if it opens weak, it's going to push. So 5 to 10. I don't like this game.
Whatever, dude. It's here to stay. Yeah, it's an interesting one. If you guys are around, if you've been in the Clover room, we do webinars every week. And yesterday I had one with Kyle and kind of swore off discretionarily trading day one stocks, long and short, just because I'm kind of over guessing on the spikeability index. For me, this is one that I would definitely just sit back and watch. I think it does have a lot of the characteristics of something that could move and run low-ish float biotech company. We have seen, phase 1, 2, 3, all these type of results move stocks, even if it's not for the long term, even if it's just a couple hours. But I think the fresh daily chart here might come into play. There's probably something tied into that IPO that they can do something with in terms of diluting. But it was pretty recent, so it's a no touch for me. Spikeability is a 6. But it's nice to see one through all-time highs. You don't normally see that on the gap scan. And there's just not that much information. And when you don't have as much information, making decisions can be quite difficult. You good on that one?
I mean, I still have to do a ton more research to even have an idea. But yeah, I mean.
Well, this isn't a 3-hour long show. XQUR. Execure. Let's go to here. Another biotech, 4.55 mil. Execure is a clinical stage biotech company developing therapeutics for immuno-oncology, inflammatory diseases, and genetic disorders based on its proprietary spherical nucleic acid, or SNA technology. I know you're big on SNA technology.
Well, so here's my problem with INTS. The more I'm reading, the more
All right, let's
I'm
go
finding.
back. Let's go back.
The more I'm reading it, the more I'm finding like they had a bunch of series convertible notes that they executed on June 29th, 2023. And if you notice, the chart starts on June 30th, 2023. They also had a reverse split on April 27th, 2023. And again, if you notice, the chart starts on June 30th, 2020. So things are happening before the chart has happened, which makes me think it's not a cut. Again, I have to keep looking into it. We don't have to keep looking into it, but I don't think this is necessarily IPO June 30th. If something in the filings is telling me that things are going on before June 30th. It looks like the sticker's been trading for longer, but I have to, prior to the June 2023 IPO. Oh, it does sound like an IPO. This is probably telling me right here. I guess we can move on.
I guess I want to know what are you going to do with this information?
Well, I'm really just trying to check, like, is it an IPO or is it an uplisting or is it, like a ticker change? I don't think it's that last one. But if there is another chart to be concerned with, I think it's important information to know.
Even if 98% of the people trading it don't have anything else on their chart?
I want the edge that the 2% don't.
All right. All right, we'll move on to Execure.
Okay.
Which is XQUR. Their news was that I can't find any. Let me see. Nope,
Right.
just 10 days ago.
Xcure?
Yeah, I see that they received their NASDAQ delinquency notice on late filing of its 10Q 9 days ago on 11/28. You got a new CEO a few months ago. 6 months ago, they filed the late form 10Q. That's the same one, and they're just not doing it. Nothing really in the terms of good news. I don't see really any positive besides getting a new CEO and then being delinquent for this guy here. Negative 3.6 months of cash left based on cash burn of minus 4 million a quarter. Warrants high. They got a $50 million ATM.
How much?
$50 million.
I think it's terminated, buddy.
It is terminated if you read the small print. Don't call me buddy. I'm not an elf. Current raisable amount on their shelf, not a lot. Not a lot here as well, but they do need money. And they don't really have any good news. And the chart kind of speaks to that. Fading off into the abyss down here at 40 cents before this gap. Already looks like the gap. Where are you, chart? Starting to fade more towards the lows here with the highs of 76. We did see a cheapie yesterday, CYN, kind of make its move throughout the morning before fading off, setting new lows. So there is some precedent this week. Some volume back on the chart, tops out in the 150 to 180 area. And besides that, super beaten down chart over the last few years. Pretty easy avoid here for me, long and short. What does Huddy think on the spikeability index?
Probably not great. In the lows, in the 1 through 4.
In the lows, okay.
Because no news, broke, no cash, float 4.41 mil. A lot of insiders, 90% insider ownership. So float could actually be maybe different.
What about are those numbers? Where are you getting those?
Yahoo Finance.
Have you found that those are similar or the same as the ones on Dilution Tracker?
Negative. They're not the same or similar.
How do you know which one's right?
You don't.
Okay.
I can go into the filings and actually calculate the real float by subtracting like who actually owns the stock out of the shares outstanding, and then any kind of offerings that are currently going on. But it doesn't seem like I need to do it for this one because it's not like that active.
Okay. Just
Maybe
trying
I
to learn.
should.
I'm just trying to learn, dude.
I'm telling you the answers.
I'm just trying to learn. All right, we got one more before we head into questions. I do see some good questions. MBI. This just feels like it's going to be some sort of merger news or something.
MBI is not merger. They had a special cash dividend where they're going to be paying, rewarding shareholders for their continued hodling of their stock.
Huddle.
Yeah, for me, it's, kind of that bigger market cap into that 300 mil range where it's kind of teetering on not a small cap. But definitely, came from that $7 area. So it's not at the point where I would completely ignore it. But when I look through their filings and fundamentals, it doesn't look quite as scammy as I'm used to seeing or deferring from. So it's probably an ignore for me, mainly because, high institutional ownership, declaring a special cash dividend, meaning that they have the cash to do it in the first place. So it just seems more of like a real company to me.
Yeah, whenever dilution tracker says dilution might not matter for this one, usually to me means it's a pretty big company or real company. You can kind of see that from the daily chart as well. Just kind of how most days are, just kind of like a trending stock. There's no real small cap price action, which is basically, looks like this. Let me get the bounce in there too. And then this. And this one is more of just an uptrend, downtrend based on news, PRs, whatever it is. And gaps on these type of stocks, I feel like end up just getting absorbed and doesn't do a whole lot to the up or the downside. But won't be in my wheelhouse. We won't even bring this one out of the Spikeability Index because I don't think many small cap traders will be watching it. Deal?
Deal. Whatever you said.
Deal.
Yeah.
What?
You're just talking about MBI still?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's take a look at some questions here because you guys had some on there. And the gap scan just looks a little boring, so let's not waste our time reading filings on stuff we don't want to trade.
Totally agree.
What does Clover think about SGBX? I hate when I don't know the ticker before it's brought up. Clover hates it. Clover hates it.
Master Clover hates it too. Basically, you have a stock that spiked in retaliation. I mean, you have to know why that thing spiked in the first place. That's pretty important. That's why the market is never something you can just like roll up to one day, look at something like SNGX. Was it SNGX or SNBX?
SGBX.
SGBX.
You're going to hate it even more.
So it's not something you can just roll up to the market and just look at and be like, okay, bottom bouncer. You really have to understand the story of what actually unfolded here and why it even spiked in the first place. And so the person asking this question, I hope you do know the answer before even attempting this. I'll tell you the answer. SGD is its counterpart, and they had like some kind of business combination or merger of sorts on 11/16. They're like combining their companies in some way. So SGD, ran to 6 first, and then the one that you just asked about, SGBX, started to move in sympathy. Given that they're both dead, I don't imagine any movement comes. But if SGD started spiking, I would maybe turn my head towards SGBX, but only on that if-then statement. Either way, like I can't predict either of them spiking randomly, so it's not really like a huge focus for me to be staring at these charts until it's necessary. That'd be my thought.
For me, short answer, there's no pattern here. You have massive resistance overhead on both of them besides the backstory, which, if you're a small cap trader, you should know the correlation between these two, which is also why we try to come on here every morning, 8:45 a.m. for Good Morning NASDAQ and talk about it. So that way, when these stocks do pop up again, you already have some base knowledge of what happened, what was the story. And for me, it's just all about the life cycle of a penny stock. Let's just talk about SGD since they're the same chart. Massive run up, massive fades, bounce, fade, off. What do they call that? Kiss goodnight or something? And that's what you're seeing right now. No volume, no interest. Even if there were interest, it's not something I'd be interested in it at all long, just because you have so much resistance right behind us. There's a lot of questions about one specific ticker, and I think it's a huge reason why you guys need to be a part of Clover. And if you're not, you need to seriously consider it, because a lot of people are asking about MLGO first green day. You need to know what happened yesterday on MLGO, because, and this is why we do what we do. This is what we try to educate. And Kyle was all over this in the room the past 2 days. MLGO is a liquidation play, and you saw yesterday that's not a normal first red day, guys. When a stock squeezes out from 3 to 20 and then goes from 20 to sub 2 on the first red day with not a single bounce.
Nay.
This is steady selling. This is just throw that TWAP on and have a nice afternoon. And these are not the plays that I want to be bouncing. If you saw Kyle's watch list, he'd be looking to short this today at any gap up, like he did with WBUY the last 2 days. This is liquidation. There are people in who are controlling the movement of the stock from much, much lower. And when they pull the plug, it's over. What was the other one? GDHG yesterday? Liquidate. And this, you've probably heard a lot about this if you've been in the Clover room the last few days of us talking about it. But this is a huge edge, not necessarily because you can trade it, but because you realize that, it doesn't mean that MLGO can't bounce today. Some of these do bounce back a bit before fading off even lower, but you're playing a very dangerous game and you're playing against massive supply. And so for me, MLGO would never cross my mind as a bounce. I've learned my lesson many a times trying to buy these just because it's so hard to believe that a stock can go from 20 to 1 and not bounce. But the majority of times it's not necessarily predictable, and the bounces aren't what you think, like what you would see on a normal first green day on super liquid, volatile, rangy 2 to 20 movers that go from 2 to 20 down to 9 or 8. These are complete destruction. Like what was it down yesterday? 85%.
Just from a technical perspective, like that's probably the most bearish daily chart you could ever find.
Yeah, generally what we're trying to do on first green days is like get the last bit of long in on the start of the backside. Backside has gone so far here as to break the levels on the daily chart before the run.
And then some.
And then some. And so, if there was ever an eye-opening moment to join Clover, it feels like now is the time. Kyle's your specialist here. You'd be able to ask him questions all day about these type of trades. But for me, having him around and that knowledge is just being able to know what to stay away from is a huge edge. And I know for a fact he's sitting here watching this morning, probably looking to fade it lower. And I know you're probably saying, how could a stock go from 20 to $1 and go lower? Let's see.
Well, I'm sure they're gapping it up today. I mean, you have to understand everything's manipulated, right? And a good reason that they would be gapping it up, or W buy yesterday on that PR, was because they didn't sell as much as they wanted to. So they want to create more volume, create more liquidity, and sell into people that believe the PRs. And I think W buy was a great one because
don't be a fish. They're trying to make you a fish.
WBuy was one where they put out a PR about like revenues and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, like this thing is so down, it's such a discount, like let's get in, and they have better revenues. I don't remember the exact PR, but you have to understand
increased revenues.
That PR was fabricated knowingly that they wanted to dilute more and sell whatever they had on whoever bought that PR, and sell they did. So you have to be very careful with what the intentions really are. These stocks aren't moving to make you money, they're trying to take money away from you. And you have to think like the 10%, not the 90%.
Yeah, and with WBUY from the last 2 days, same type of thing. 14 down to 2. And then they gap it up. And on volume, that was a big thing Kyle talked about on his watch list. Runs big, or not big, but I mean, that's a 50% move. 2 to the mid 3s. And then look at that. It fades and even goes lower than the previous day. What I just said that, you can't really fathom sometimes. They're trying to see who will bite. Who, put a hook out with a little worm on and say, who's going to buy this thing up because we still got more to sell. And then, boom, they sell it right off. And Kyle did well on that one, too. All right. 5 Fresh daily makes spikeability high, but the rate goes lower for me for actually running holding gains. Final score is 6.5 for me. Yeah, whenever we talk about these tickers, if you guys want to throw in your spikeability opinions, I know Huddy loves the spikeability index. Someone asked VRME. Looks like a gapper this morning.
For me.
Let's see. We'll do a quick run through of the filings. 9 million float. Security and protection services. Share repurchase plan and changes to board compensation program. What does that mean to you, Huddy?
Say it one more time.
The news is they announced a share repurchase plan and changes to board compensation program.
Share repurchase in my mind is generally like a bullish thing. We're taking shares out of the outstanding float, making it a smaller float. And that they have the cash to do it. That's kind of like a good sign. But as always in penny stock world, it's never as simple as that. But like I gut call says it's kind of a bullish thing.
Yeah, pretty low gap, 27%. Just kind of chilling mid range here in the ones.
Like I think Mullen had like some PR like this where they had approved like a buyback program or repurchase, but like they were repurchasing the share, but the company themselves, like again, you have to look into it deeper if you really want to have a good fundamental analysis. But like the thing with Mullen was they were repurchasing shares, but they didn't have the actual income or cash flow to do it with like ordinary business operations. They were doing it with all the money they made from diluting onto people. So they were just kind of like doing this whole charade where it like made it look like, you know, they were buying back their stock, but in reality, they're just buying the dip on everything that they just sold. So that was an interesting one.
We all did two more. One of them, again, kind of scares me. Talking about VVOS, multi-day breakout over 20 could go to 1,000 potentially. I can't tell if this person's trolling.
Sounds like a troll.
Is it a troll?
It's a troll.
You never know in the stock market world what people actually.
I mean, some people really have those types of ideas and like they want to be taken seriously, but you can't.
Life cycle of a penny stock, guys, move from 4 to 50. I'll say it again, 4 to 50, down to 15. I'm trying to remember one that has recovered from that anytime soon. You know, maybe it's at 1,000 later in our lifetimes.
Hey.
But yeah, I don't even count 20 as a breakout on this one either. The breakout level is 50, whatever this high is. 48.79 is the breakout level. It's like I keep saying, knowing what to avoid is you know, they just recently did an offering. I don't know if they could exercise the shares on the day of the offering, but they announced that they are going to. So many negative things going here. You really, you know, and after that, I kind of was like, it's probably not even going to bounce for first green day. Look how weak these bounce attempts are. Do I really believe that this has the strength to go back and break 50? No. Am I 100% certain? No, because you never can be in the market. You just take the information based off the experience you have and the statistics in front of you, and you try to make educated guesses. That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, very rare that we actually see charts like this recover. Until it starts trading volume and putting, like, I think the main thing is like your $20 level is just created on no volume. So I don't really consider it necessarily like a breakout level. And I think you have to, you know, maybe redraw up in your mind what a breakout level is. That might help if that is a serious question.
We do teach those in Clover. So if you want more access to what the patterns we trade and the actual criteria for them, 7-day, $7 trial, link in the description. Last question we'll do, since we talked about MLGO and first green days, can you give an example of a perfect one? I think LIFW was pretty dang perfect. You had a move from 3 up to 18, 1748. Insane move, squeezed a lot of people out. I think this was when I was at Deer Camp, when a lot of people, I think we had a few gappers or runners. Maybe CDIO was in that time frame too. Had some good big movers, great extension. A nice red day on the chart brings us back to 6. So we're now down from 17 to 6. Here's the volatility we're talking about. Here's the range. Here's the volume. This did 64 million on that day. And then what do we get? We closed down here at the $6 area. We open, I believe that was a really nice ABCD that morning. And we bounced from 6 to 11. Almost 100% bounce back into previous resistance. And this is just my favorite type because you have so much range between 6 and 17, where if you can find yourself risking 30 cents, 50 cents to make $1, $2, $3 a share, the risk reward is phenomenal. And I think this spike happened in like the first hour of the day. It doesn't close, hella green. It doesn't, continue higher. But the first green day pattern really is just taking advantage of that last bit of volatility before the stock fades off after having so much interest and attention. And what happened? And that's why we speak with some clarity and some conviction when we say this isn't going to go to 1,000. This isn't going to, re-break out. It's because we have a lot of examples to show us that what the average one does. So after this first green day, which is generally the last pattern that I would trade in the life cycle, the stock never even gets close to those highs ever again, has a couple consolidation days, and then fades right back off to where it came from. So that's a really nice first green day. I encourage you to get the intradays of that if you want to look and study more on that. I also think I have a trade recap for $20. Link in the description there if you're looking for a live trade of me trading. Do you remember if it was Zila? It might have been Zila at post reverse split. It might have been in this run right in here, but I kind of go over everything I'm looking for that pattern. But that's where we're going to wrap it up today because I have 2 minutes left on this free Zoom for me and Huddy this morning. Why did I switch to that? I think it was a pretty good show. A lot of questions. I'll tell you guys, the shows can only be better. The more questions you bring, the more of you that participate, the more tickers you bring up. We are more than happy to spend the 25, 30 minutes going over more tickers that you guys find interesting if the gappers aren't that interesting. So from me, from Huddy, I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday. Stay safe out there. Protect profits. Don't dig yourself into too big of a hole. You guys all know the spiel. If you want to study your butt off this weekend, I'll say it for a third time. Get your butt in Clover. 7-day, $7 trial. You'll get access to everything. Huddy and Dom webinars. Huddy and Dom old boot camp, virtual boot camps. Live trades, video lessons, watch list, trade alerts, the room, webinars, everything. Weekend's a great time to just hunker down. If you really want to steal from us, pay us $7, watch everything you possibly can, and then dip. But I encourage you to think about staying because, like with the MLGO this morning, it pays. It pays to stay informed, and that, if above anything, is what we are trying to do for you guys. So from me and Huddy, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys at 8:45 a.m. Same place, same time, right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel for Good Morning NASDAQ.